Let's bring in our panel. Rena Shah, former senior Republican congressional advisor, and David Carlucci, former New York State senator. Good to see both of you. Welcome back. Hi. Rena, you just heard President Trump heading to Michigan tomorrow, where the White House says he will talk about manufacturing jobs ahead of the midterms. I do want to bring up a new poll, though. It finds the economy, no surprise here, as the most important thing for voters during this election. As with most, the president has been criticized for not focusing enough on the economy in the last few weeks. Rena, do you think this is an opportunity for him to help drive home the GOP's economic message?
Certainly. Look, the economy is front and center as the midterms are approaching. Every major survey is saying the same thing. Voters want candidates talking about the economy, specifically prices and the cost of living, more than anything else. It's not abstract GDP growth that they're focused on. It's whether the paycheck still covers the grocery bill and the gas tank. That focus is shaping both parties' closing arguments in these 100 days and explaining why generic ballot numbers have stayed modestly favorable to Democrats. I think the campaign that best connects daily economic frustration to a clear governing agenda will set the tone for the final stretch. In a midterm environment, though, that single issue usually outweighs the rest of the noise.
David, let's say the president starts to make the economy his focus moving forward, at least going to the midterms. Is that enough to help Republicans with momentum swinging towards Democrats right now, especially when it comes to the House races? There's a new DDHQ forecast. It's showing a 60% chance of the House turning blue in November.
Yeah, look, every poll, every election, primary, special, we see that the electorate is favoring Democrats. And so I think it would be very wise for the president to talk about the economy, talk about how Republicans and his administration are helping the average person. But that's not what you hear from the president. The president, his base loves to hear him talk about everything but the economy. And that is a problem. When he makes the Save America Act his number one priority, when he refuses to sign a housing bill that finally wound up on his desk, I mean, it just spells disaster for Republicans on the ground. And look, all politics is local, so you can't cookie cutter these campaigns. It's got to react to what is happening on the street. But the reality is, it's the economy, and the president is saying everything but the economy, and it leaves room for the Democrats to talk about what they're going to do. And that's why we see the momentum, the wind is at the back of the Democrats.
Rena, the balance in the Senate is much more of a coin flip, at least by most estimates. I want to bring up another DDHQ forecast. It shows a 50-50 split, meaning Vice President Vance would have the deciding vote, thus giving Republicans the edge. Where do you see the balance of power in both the Senate and House after the midterms?
Well, look, here we sit with 100 days out. We have to talk about these House versus Senate dynamics. The numbers are clear. Democrats are the favorites in the House, while Republicans remain slight favorites to keep the Senate. That's not a contradiction. It's how the system is built. The House reflects the national temperature more quickly, and right now that temperature favors the out party. The Senate, by contrast, though, still requires Democrats to win in places that voted for Trump. So you can have a Democratic House and a Republican Senate at the same time. Actually, that would be my preference, which would produce two very different kinds of oversight and legislative gridlock. And that is why I would prefer it, because I think that tension is kind of what the founders wanted. Now, look, from the Capitol Hill perspective, I think the real question here isn't whether one party sweeps. It's whether really whether the two chambers end up working against each other for the next 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. David, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, he's making the Democrats' goal known during an event today in Pennsylvania. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
In 100 days, you can vote for an America that is affordable and lower the cost of groceries, gas, and housing. In 100 days, you can vote for an America where affordable health care is available to every single citizen. In 100 days, you can vote for an America that puts an end to Donald Trump's reckless war of choice in Iran.
All right, guys, this is what we've been talking about. Jeffrey certainly putting affordability front and center, and it's been a winning election message many times in the past. It's the economy, stupid. Will that be the case again for Democrats this November? Where do you see the congressional balance of power, David?
Yeah, look, like we've been talking about, all the polls, every indicator we look at, it's looking favorable for the Democrats. But what's important is all politics is local, and these campaigns have to meet the constituents where they are. And a campaign that works in Brooklyn, you can't just pick it up and put it in Phoenix. It's not going to work the same. So you have to fit your district. You can't just fit social media. And that's what's so important. So I think the Democrats are going to be very wise to talk about what they're going to do, talk about the fiscal policies that they want to implement when they have the power, and lay off of piling on the Republicans, because everyone can see that for themselves. People are frustrated. Look at Iran, right? We were promised something. We're getting a totally different delivery of what is happening there. It's turned into escalating beyond what Donald Trump had talked about. So I think Americans can see that from themselves. What they want to do is they want to see, what are you going to bring to the table? So Democrats have a great opportunity here. They have to meet voters where they are. And these elections are going to be won at the doorbells and not with just some fancy slogan. So they've got to roll up their sleeves, get that elbow grease going, and that's what's going to win. Who can you touch? How can you touch more voters? Press the flesh. That's what's going to deliver the result in November.
Rena, have a minute. The Jeffries event comes as a new report reveals more inner turmoil at the Democratic National Committee, financial troubles, emotional outbursts behind the scenes, hurting morale for some within the party. How can Republicans capitalize on these issues that Democrats are obviously having, not only for 2026, but beyond?
Well, I used to use this phrase on a campaign trail a lot, and I would say, let it sink. 3 words. Just let it do its thing over there, because Democrats are sort of shooting themselves in the foot here. And this is a sort of a tension between the National Party and what's going on in the grassroots. I think I see Jeffries. He is doing the classic framing the closing argument around lowering the cost of groceries, housing, healthcare, and everyday expenses. He's making a deliberate pivot away from broader cultural fights and towards the issues that voters keep ranking highest. Well, in the grassroots, there are culture fights. And in the grassroots, they're really mad at the National Party. So I think the Republicans can't really do anything. Let them do their own thing, because the Republicans have their own problems with Trump talking about defense and voter ID when voters want to hear about other things.
All right. David Carlucci, Rena Shah, always a pleasure. Always a great conversation, guys. Thank you again.
Great to be with you.